Welcome to an episode of Local Legends, but this drummer is not local. However, he is absolutely a legend.
I've started, so I finish.
What's your name?
My name's Ian Matthews.
How old are you?
I don't know if I'm old enough to be a legend yet,
Oh, I love that answer.
but I've seen half a century go by.
You were not 50.
50. I'm actually 500 years old. I got bitten back in the day.
Oh, yeah. You were not 50.
2.
Are you really?
Yeah.
And how long have you been playing drums?
Well, I actually started. I had a toy drum. Well, it was actually a Beverly Tom when I was probably about 2 or 3. But I had my first lessons when I was about 4 years old, and the drum teacher was Mike Holmwood, who lived in Kingswood, where I was from, just outside in Bristol, and he was the drummer for Brotherhood of Man.
Oh, yeah.
So he was pretty good start point for me. I was only 4, and I used to go and have 10-minute drum lesson, and then 10 minutes Saturday morning, Cowboys and Indians or whatever they were showing back in those days, and then another 10 minutes lesson, and that's where it kind of started from for me.
Tell us why you chose drums over every other instrument.
My dad was a pianist and an organist and a singer, and he had a club band. And yeah, I think he really wanted me to play piano. But there was something I still remember to this day, something in the drama of a drum kit. Now, I'm guessing like at that age, I remember it was probably black and white, but whenever music was on the television, it was like the early 70s. So you had drummers with massive hair and like these big sparkly drum kits. And as I've got through the years, I've now understand looking back that the hardware that these drum kits were built out with weren't designed for heavy rock. They were designed for jazzers to play. And so you had these rock drummers playing with these drum kits that seemed to shake and pulsate. And that drama just drew me in, and I just had to do that. And that literally is like a childhood memory of, and I used to try and make my own drum kit like do that.
Yeah. Tell us about your drumming journey.
I started off, as I said, as a kid, having lessons from Mike. And when I was 7, I'd been learning to play for a few years. And my dad's drummer got ill, and he took me to my first ever. We literally put my drum kit in next to his organ, and took me to a pub called the Globe in Wells, as in Wells, Somerset. And that was when I did my first gig, playing bossa novas and foxtrots and quick steps and boleros and beguines and the velita. And so that was, literally is where it all began for me, as you know, playing. And I sort of did more shows with my dad, and then that sort of knocked on to like a cabaret. These cabaret guys turned up one day, and I was probably 10, and they showed up to a sort of social club to do their cabaret thing, and they got the laminated music to give out to the drummer, and they were shocked to see this little lad. And I pulled it off, and they were so chuffed that they gave me work. I landed up playing at the Hippodrome when I was 11.
Amazing.
Through that, doing a week's pit in the Hippodrome for a musical. And so gradually you get to know more and more people. I had a drum teacher through school, a guy called Eddie Clayton, who was a bit of a Bristol legend. And he would deck me out to all the jazz gigs that you couldn't do.
Amazing.
So gradually sort of getting to know more and more people. And when I was about 13, I joined I was in an adult big band in Bristol, and also I joined a little bit later, I was about 14, 15, I joined the Avenue Swing Band. And I was doing county schools stuff as well, and also doing weddings on a weekend. I'd land up doing someone's function gig I was 15 and earning money for doing a function gig. So I came out here into school, but I'm a working class lad, so I never equated it to a job.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was about 19, going into 20, I realised that this is what I've got to trade with the world. That's what I should be doing. So that's where my job started.
Yeah.
And then so I'm in my 20s and I'm living in Bristol, and I carried on studying. I had a couple of other teachers to help me with stuff, bolt on more and more knowledge. And I've got myself involved with all sorts of projects. Like Bristol in the 90s was great. You got drum and bass and hip hop and rock bands doing more and more function work and stuff. Landed up doing 7 years of the Bath Panto. I was a panto drummer.
Yeah.
2 shows a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also was teaching. So I had my own private teaching thing at home, and I would teach at the Bristol schools. I landed up teaching at Millfield for about 4 years, Millfield School. And one of the big things at that time was playing live was no problem to me, but being in the studio was a problem. And I call it red light fever. As soon as I know the red light's on, I climb up.
Red light syndrome. Yeah.
So I would let myself in. Just anybody who said the word record, I would go, yeah, I'll do it, because that was practice. Yeah. And that led me to, in 2001, meeting Kasabian, because I would do lots of work with this guy in Bristol, and in return, he would anything paid came in, then he would go, there's some little paid session for you. So when I first met Kasabian in 2001, they weren't signed. And I was meant to help them. I would do a day's recording for £100.
Yeah, wow.
That's where I first met them.
Yeah.
So continuing the story for anyone who doesn't know, Kasabian went and got signed the next year. But at the time, I was working with a mate who was signed to Virgin, and I was working with another chap, Jeffrey Ariema, who was part of the Real World thing. Yeah. It's like he was a Parisian, Ugandan singer-songwriter. So I was doing some interesting stuff, and Kasabian tried to get me in the band, and I went, no, I can't. You live in Leicester, I live in Bristol, but I'll help you record stuff off this album. So I did. I used to go to Leicester and help them with the first album, and then in 2004, I finally got on the bus with them.
Ah, okay.
So that's nearly 20 years ago. I mean, we're in October now. I started that journey in April 2004. So the way that band, when you're in a signed band, you roll with an album, you tour for like 18 months, and then you'll have like a year off, and then you start the process of the next album, and so on and so forth. And so one thing I've always had to deal with them is, I love playing jazz. It's something that I'm schooled in a bit, and I genuinely love it's such an opposite thing to the rock thing. So I've always kept that up. Yeah. So I'm currently in a band called the Jazz Defenders. Yeah. And we're just working on a new album to come out now. We just brought out a single out called Rolling on a High. And as I was telling you earlier, I'm also working at Ronnie Scott's for the next few months with the Ronnie Scott's Blues Explosion. And there are some old friends of mine in that band, but they're all brilliant. They all like play for Annie Lennox or Jules Holland or Tom Jones. The Paddy Milner, the keyboard player, is in Tom Jones's touring band, Okay. So they're all amazing, so I've got me on my best behavior. Yeah. And then, I don't know, with Kasabian, where Serge is always busy, Serge is always writing, I'm go up to London or up to Leicester, and I do stuff in the studio and lay some drums down and stuff. So who knows, maybe next year there'll be more to come from Kasabian. I can't say. Yeah. I don't know.
Your favourite band? And your favourite drummer, and why?
Well, you see, these are really hard questions because they change all the time. But really simply, I guess Buddy Rich was my first genuine fascination, and I had the first album that I was given was when I was a child, was Buddy Rich live at Ronnie Scott's. Great album, that. And also, I guess, I would put him as an influence, really, an early influence. But also in my parents' record collection, I always remember a Queen single with Don't Stop Me Now on one side, and Bicycle on the other side. But what's it called? That's not called Bicycle. It's called the bicycle song, isn't it?
Yeah. Bicycle,
Cool. Bye.
bicycle.
So I guess Roger Taylor is probably quite a major influence on me as well. But then when I got a little older, I mean, I found my rebellion in new wave of British heavy metal, and I got right into Ian Pace. He landed in my world, and I suppose it's coming from that Buddy Rich sort of school.
Yeah.
And so then I got into like Mitch Mitchell and Ginger Baker and stuff. And then I got completely consumed by Iron Maiden for a long time there as well. Clive Burr and Nicky McBrain. Yeah. Two quite different drummers, really. Yeah. So back in those days, I had quite clear, defined sort of boundaries into what I was into and who was sort of influencing me, you know. But nowadays, I find it so hard. Yeah. Especially now we have such things as YouTube and Spotify. Yeah. You know, back in the day, you could walk into Our Price Records and be like, "Where do I start?" But it's like that on steroids now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. Yeah.
It's always something or somebody. You know, it's amazing. Yeah. And of course, you know, because of that, you know, people like share music so much more. You know, and we played the Duc de Lombard in Paris a few weeks ago with the Jazz Defenders. Yeah. And that was an 11-hour drive back to Bristol from Paris. And so, you know, the people got the phones and they can just pull out tunes, you know, or going on tour with Kasabian, and they've got the lads in, and we're in tour buses for hours on end. And it's like going to music college, you know? Yeah. So I'm slightly ducking out, but at the same time, you know, to me, there's so much out there. It's brilliant, you know.
If you could play drums for any band or artist, who would it be and why?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm in Kasabian. Kasabian is my band. If you saw me in half, it would say Kasabian. Probably a little bit Jazz Defenders. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. But if you weren't the drummer of Kasabian and you sat there watching something, you think, oh, do you know what? Most people say Foo Fighters, don't they? But if you were watching something, for me, I think Sting, pop gig Katy Perry, but Sting would be the one for me.
I tell you what, I would love to do. It's something massive, like you know, when I was younger, I wanted to be in the Marines. I wasn't fit enough to be in the Marines, you know, asthma and all that stuff, so they wouldn't let me in. But you know, to be a drummer with the BBC Concert Orchestra or the Birmingham Symphony, or the London Philharmonic, playing tunes with an amazing singer like someone like Tom Jones or whatever, Shirley Bassey, these kind of people. Maybe now Adele, playing a night of Bond theme tunes or something. Years ago, I did one of my pit jobs was playing at the Bristol Hippodrome. We did Evita, and that was with an orchestra, and it was like a cast of thousands. They brought together all the Amdram companies of Bristol, because Lloyd Webber doesn't release the licenses that easily, and he'd release a license for Evita. So all of Bristol's Amdram clubs came together. They had a couple of professional principals with a full orchestra in that pit, and playing that was just the power in it was beautiful. So I think I would love to be involved with something like that.
Tell us a little bit about the gear you use.
Well, I'm using Gretsch drums, USA custom. So the Kasabian size is a 24 by 18, which Andrew, who's the A&R guy in Gretsch, was like, "You sure you want that?" Yes, please. It's like, okay, it's very long. Yeah. But it's a beautiful, big, fat sound. Yeah. And I use I don't know the technicalities, but inside the drum there's two mics. So I use a complete head on the front with some holes, a few little air holes drilled in, tiny little holes to let some air through. And then inside there's like a PZM mic, a flat mic on a sponge. And then there's a kind of a normal kind of bass drum mic. I don't know which one it is offhand, which is suspended in a shoe, in like a horseshoe. Yeah, yeah. So it gets the direct punch of the bass drum beater, and then the other one gets like the overall sound of the rest of the room inside there, and then engineer can blend them together, and it makes one hell of a sound. So with that, I've got a Gretsch SA wood snare, 14 by 6.5, 13 by 9 rack tom, 16 by 16 floor tom, and an 18 by 18 second floor tom, which is like just pure throat.
Yeah.
I do visit it quite often actually, but if we got tunes like Shoot the Runner, which is a very tom heavy groove. It's like a sort of fat shuffle on the toms. And so I need that second tom, and so might as well have it box sort of shape, and it proper rumbles. I use Zildjian cymbals, and I've done that for years, and that's actually no, I've got K Sweets,
Nice.
1819, and a 22-inch K Custom Ride. This is, I think, I can't remember exactly because I haven't seen it for a while because I haven't toured for a bit.
Yeah.
And I've got an 19-inch hybrid K China and a really old pair of New Beat hi-hats.
Nice.
When I do the jazz stuff, I use a pair of 15-inch K Light hi-hats. Beautiful they are. And I've usually got an 18 and a 22 Carope cymbals. They're not called anything. They just are. They've got weights on them. That's about it. I've also got a 20 as well that I sometimes swap out. And then I've got a bunch of stuff, other cymbals that I would use, say with the the blues explosion that I'm doing at Ronnie's. I also work occasionally with an artist called Hannah Williams and the Affirmations. And you'll know Hannah Williams because her voice, well, that band's whole single was lifted by Jay-Z and was used on 444. And so if anyone's out there want to check that out, that's a direct way into Hannah's work. And so then I'll tend to use like a 20-inch K, and I'll have an 18-inch K Dark on my left and an 18-inch A Custom. Very bright. I've got bright and dark. So that's the kind of thing I use quite big cymbals usually. So, yeah.
She's my queen. Sit the ride, sit the ride. I'm a king. She's my queen. Yeah. Did I get your way? Always with you. Is that sense of the sea? Am I only sit the ride, sit the ride. I'm a king. She's my queen. Say. Take that shit down, TC. Okay, TC. After 4, I want to see all this fucking field bouncing with me after 4. Because I'm coming with you. I'm coming with you, Mexico. back to the start.
And one final question. Is it okay that when you play Cardiff next, that you call me up on stage to play We Will Rock You with you?
So that again?
When you play Cardiff next, is it all right if you call me up on stage?
Call
with
you up
Kasabian,
on stage?
so I can have a go at playing We Will Rock You?
But you're going to do the stomp and the clap. Go, Brett.
That's all I'm capable of doing.
we do. You just put some headphones on you. You can just go for it.
Ian, thank you, man. You're
I got to
not
say,
local.
Well, I just want to say
thank.
thank you and everyone here. It's been great to meet you, and obviously I mentioned it tonight was the great Mike Johnston Clinic here, and it's a wonderful place you've got, and you've got all of you are just lovely.
Thank you very much.
The warmest
man.
welcome ever.
Ah, bless you. Please come back. Please come and hang with us.
Absolutely.
Please come back and see the store in all its glory. Ian, thank you very much. You are local, but you're not local, but you're definitely a legend, and thank you so much for taking part.
Oh,
Thanks, man.
nice one, mate.
Thanks. Thanks.